comments there so I can see it, because my preview still does not show it. Let's see. And I gotta lower my volume to see. Like always, you're late. Someone was here, and so I couldn't get rid of them. I didn't want to be rude. All right, it looks like I am live because the preview just updated here. How is everyone doing today? I'm still not making videos, so that's why I decided to do this live thing. But I am messing around with, you know, skateboard wheels and all this other stuff, skateboard motors, and yeah, and I laid them all out, and I found some stuff today that I thought that a lot of you guys that might be doing a skateboard, electric skateboard wheel might find interesting. So, who among you guys are doing or have done an electric skateboard, or you know, like what I just saw a channel called Portable Electric Vehicles or something like that. Who among you have done an electric portable vehicle? And let me load up this screen up here in the bigger screen so that I can see and I can read it better, because it's the letters are too small on my little laptop here. Let's see, events, and then I gotta turn that off because that's kind of annoying to hear myself. All right, live control. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Oh, I think if I just click on the actual video, it pops it up big, right? Let's see, does it? One of these days I'm gonna figure out how to do this the right way. Oh, watch on live view page. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that we want. Hello, everyone. Again, for those of you guys that are showing, let's see. What do the comments say? Kentucky, Puerto Rico. Oh, some people from Puerto Rico. Which, by the way, guys, I'm gonna be back there on around the 15th of this month. So, in a couple of weeks. Anyone build their own board? Yes, this is what I'm asking, because today I wanted to talk about electric motors and HUV motors. Look at this. Look at this guy. As pretty as this guy is, don't buy this. This is not the right one. Well, I think with the right design, I think it could work. I built an e-bike, if that counts. E-bikes, yeah, work. It's the same technology, it's just a little bit different. People from Australia, e-bike is even better, it says. Well, that's debatable, right? Out here, okay. I originally got interested in 18650 in this whole channel for e-bikes. Oh, there you go. It took me a while to get around to e-bikes and skateboards and stuff, because, you know, as you guys know, I've been doing the batteries because I wanted to do a full-size car, and I did. That's what I'm running my Samba, right? My BW bus. Let's see. Nisov, can you shout out me? It's 12 here in Florida. Oh yeah, sorry for the you guys that are in the East Coast. It's probably gonna be, it's late here. It's actually 9 p.m. here, but I was doing all the stuff today, and it's not until I found some time right now. Let's see. Very cool. Tennessee, Cleveland. It's 11. And London. What time is it in London? Well, it's the other side of the world, so I'm sure you guys are doing pretty good over there. E-trike for me. Where's the thumbnail from? So the thumbnail is from all the motors that I have sitting here on my table. I've been messing around with those today. And so that's what I wanted to talk. Don't get 6355s, 190 kilovolt motors from China. Well, too late. You should have told me that before, because that's exactly what I've got here. These are the torque boards. Wait, which ones did you say? Did you say the 63? This is 6355 190 kilovolts. So yeah, these they were going too slow. have too much torque and they didn't have enough speed. Well, but I was running them on 6S, so if I run them at 12S or 10S, I think I might get the speed that I want, I think. Let's see. I want to build one this summer. What's the average price to make one yourself? Well, it depends, right? It's like building a car. You can build a Toyota, you know, you can build a little car that just doesn't go very fast, doesn't go very far, or you can build a Ferrari, right? So you can go crazy expensive, but I think what I've found in my research is that you can actually get some good, decent performance for around like 400, 500 bucks. The rivals like the 1800, the 1,000+ boards. And so that's why I want to share today in this video. So check this out. Let me just, the thing is that you guys are putting comments here so much faster than I can read them. Let's see. Okay, E-Samba is an inspiration from India. It's 9:45 a.m. Okay, so here is what my research has led, right? I've been messing around this for a few weeks now, probably a month or something on these motors. And first, I bought these motors. And you guys have seen the video that I did where we had that skateboard and it was doing all the stuff, but it didn't have a lot of torque. And the reason why it didn't have a lot of torque is because we were using these motors. These are really small. Let me bring the whole wheel. Okay. Actually, no, that's wrong. The very first electric motor that I started building was using these motors, right? And these are 6355s, and I think that's the diameter. 190 kilovolts, right? So that's the winding. So they're geared like low RPMs, right? The higher the kilovolt number, then the higher the RPMs per volt or something. So these are geared low for a lot of torque, and then we have like a 40 to 11 to 40 tooth here, something. I just picked that from eBay. I didn't do much research. I just bought it. And the problem with 6S is that, you know, it has a ton of torque, but it didn't go very fast. RPMs weren't high enough to go past, like, I don't know, 7, 8 miles, 10 miles, something like that, 10 miles an hour or something. And so it was kind of frustrating, right? Because, I mean, you want to go, this is a lot of motor to have on a skateboard and then not be able to go fast. And so, of course, you could get bigger wheels. And this is before I got around to ordering bigger wheels, sort of like these, right? These are 100 millimeter or 97 millimeter, so you can see the difference. But I just never got around to that, and so the project never really moved. I sat there. I was gonna make a video, and it was gonna go viral, but I wasn't excited about the thing because I couldn't get it. So then, what I ended up trying to do was try the hoverboard. Try the hub wheels, right? Hub motor wheels, and these are different because these motors are inside the wheel, and there are pros and cons to that, right? So because the motor is inside the wheel, then the motor has to be a bit smaller, and so you don't have a lot of torque because it's got no gearing. So basically 1 RPM of the motor is 1 RPM of the wheel, and so you can't put a lot of torque in there. And that's exactly what we saw on that first build. Well, the second build that we did, like, I don't know, a month ago or something. It has, like, top speed is fine. It's just, it didn't have a lot of torque. It couldn't get us up those, like, super steep hills, right? And so that's because it was on this side. This is like a 77 millimeter hub motor thing. And it's actually done pretty well. When you take it apart and you see the, you know, the insides with the windings and the you know, the whole thing and the bearings and stuff. It's like, it's really cool. I didn't like this motor because it doesn't have a sensor inside. So the controller, the speed controller, doesn't exactly know what the motor is doing. And so it's just blindly throwing signals at the motor. And so it's kind of noisy, and it's not very smooth at takeoff and stuff. And so that was what you guys saw on that first board. You know, it's like on that board a month ago with the red wheels. It was, once you got it going, and then it would go fast, and it was good. Except, yeah, it just wasn't, you know, wasn't great. So then I thought, no, there's got to be different motors, right? And so then I ordered these. These are actually worse than the other. They're better quality, but they don't have the sensor. At least the ones that I tried the first time, they had sensors, but I didn't end up connecting them because they didn't work. I don't know what I did wrong. And so then what I ended up doing, okay, so then what I ended up doing was doing these. And you guys are going to know what these are. If you guys have built stuff, you're gonna know that these are popular. They're popping up. I think these are called. There's a cheap Chinese skateboard that came onto the market. And it's called Meepo, and it was selling for like $250 something. Now I think it's higher. Like it's, I think, somewhere around $400. And so that's what the motors that they're using, right? And these are the exact same thing. They're HUV motors, but they're much bigger. They're 97 or almost 100 millimeter outer diameter, right? So the inside motor, it's much bigger. And so here is the inside. I just took it apart so you guys to see it. And these are the permanent magnets in there, and there's no gap between the magnets on the outside, which is pretty cool because that means there's no gaps in between the fields. And so here is the stator. This is the part that attaches to the truck here. And so basically the magnetic fields that are being sent electrically through the cables from the speed controller, they rotate around this, and then because this is on the outside here, then the wheels start spinning, right? And so that's how that works. And the advantages to that is, of course, that you have a quieter motor, and it's much smoother. This one actually has the cables because it's got a Hall effect sensor, or I don't even know if it's a Hall effect. Might be. Yeah, I don't know if it's a Hall effect. Yeah, I think it is. So it's got sensors, so basically lets the motor know where it's at. So it sends out pulses, and then once it detects the inputs from the sensor, then it knows where the motor's it's at, if it's moving, you know, which direction is moving. And so it very quickly knows and adjusts the amount of power that it sends to the motor. So as a result, it's much smoother and it's quieter. And so the only problem is, of course, that, again, they don't have as much torque as the other ones. But because these are bigger than the other ones, then they have enough torque for 2 motors to push a full-size person, you know, fast enough. It's got fast acceleration, and then it takes you up hills, you know, quite a bit. Like, I've been watching all you guys' there's a bunch of people that are doing reviews of using, and there's a bunch of these like Chinese companies that are making skateboards using this motor, right? Meepo, Wow Go, the Real, there's a bunch. I can't keep track of how many, right? And they all look the same, or a version of this. Some have different little things here. Some is like a flat thing. But when you look at them, the thing that distinguishes is the outer back part of it, right? Which is here. And so once you take it apart and then you compare it to the other motor, you see the difference, right? Here we go. And so you're like, oh yeah, that's a substantially bigger motor. This is the reason why you can have enough torque. Okay, so these motors can be had for like 50 bucks, 60 bucks. I think you can buy them on the different websites. I put links to the description of this video and the thing there. And you can buy, you know, like the whole truck, or just the truck, or just the motor. The downside to them is, of course, that, yeah, they're not going to compete with the top motors that are geared like that, right? Because those are geared down, so they have more RPMs for every revolution. But they're, like I said, they're quieter, and it's a much simpler design when you're building it, because you don't have all that mechanical stuff. And then The good thing is that you don't have all the mechanical stuff. Like with the gear motors, you have the belt and you have the tensioner, all the stuff that eventually you have to, you have to adjust, or you have to fix, or you have to like deal with, right? With this stuff, you don't have any of that. There's like no moving parts except two like bearings, which is exactly the same thing as I have on my full-size car. It's essentially a brushless DC motor. It's not a brushless DC motor because it doesn't have permanent magnets. It's a 3-phase AC induction motor, which I think I just found out that one's wired slightly different. That's wired in Delta configuration. These are wired all in Y configuration. And I don't know what that means. And the reason I'm doing some research is because after I built this skateboard, I wanted to ride on rough terrain, right? I was down in Baja and I was riding. The problem, another one of the cons with this is that like there's not a lot of like rubber around it because the motor's inside, and so you can't have wheels that absorb all the shock there, right? So they can be a kind of hard. And then the other thing that happens is because when you build an electric skateboard, then you got to put the batteries on the bottom. Then sometimes you do what I did. You build this box on the bottom, and then you lose the flexibility of the board, adding to the rougher ride, right? And so this is a combination. And when you're riding on really rough terrain, you're like, you're rattling your brain. And so I thought, man, I need to build me a... Oh yeah, this is the thing that doesn't work here, by the way, guys. Okay, here we go. I thought I need to build me a off-road skateboard. I have one. One of my neighbors brought it to me so that I can look at it and, figure out what changed the batteries. We thought it was just dead batteries, but then once I checked into the thing, there's more problems with it. And they have about 6-7 inch wheels, with like these trucks that have like suspensions, got springs and stuff. And I thought, oh man, if I can figure out how to put a motor in there, take that DC, it's got a massive DC motor. And I thought if I can remove that and put one of these modern, I wanted to do this one. Where is it at? Right? I wanted to do this one right here. This is a 6374. It's slightly bigger than the other one, so it's a little bit more powerful. I think it's 149. So it's 149 kV, I think. So it's even gear lower than the other one. So it's got a ton of torque. I think with the same gearing, it will move a much bigger wheel. So that's what I wanted to do. But at the same time, I thought, oh man, I have to deal with the ride. I have to find the right, sprocket and chain, or the belt and the thing. I was like, oh, come on. But then you got to deal with all that tensioning, and I thought, how cool would it be if there was like hub motors that were that size for off-road vehicles. And I've been doing some, I've been looking around, and there isn't. It doesn't seem like there is. And then that's when I was looking around and I found these. These are hoverboard wheels, right? All of you guys know what those hoverboard little things are. I mean, that's where we're getting all these batteries from, right? Like these were all like burning up because there was a whole shady like marketplace. They were making them like super cheap. Everybody in China was trying to cash in this new device that there's a craze. Everybody was buying them, right? And so as a result, now there's a bunch of them left. Everybody bought a bunch of them, and now either the batteries are bad or they grew tired of them and stuff. And so these are popping up on eBay as replacement. Also, I guess some people have killed the motors inside. So I didn't know that these were hub motors. But once I started looking at some videos, realized these are hub motors. And they're about the right size, 7 inches. They're kind of heavy, right? But I think if you're building an electric skateboard, off-road vehicle, maybe they're not too heavy. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to try it. The thing is, these things are super cheap. You can find them even down to like $10. This is how much I paid for these. I paid $20 for 2 of these, and I just ordered 2 more because I want to try and make an all-wheel drive, right? Because that's the thing about hub motors, is that even though they're not as torquey as the other ones and powerful as the geared motors, well, you can, because they're simpler, then you can just use 4 of them, and then you have just as much torque, and you have a much simpler system that needs less maintenance, and it's a lot smoother. And then also, once you have that many motors, 4 motors moving you around, then you realize that they don't push as much amperage out of your battery. So then all of a sudden, all these like batteries that are required like to do like power cells, you don't need them. I'm using NCR 18650Bs, which are energy dense cells, right? And yeah, I'm using a big pack. It's 5P. So that means 50 cells wired in 10S. It's still you can get like 2 hours at 20 miles an hour or something. So it's, yeah, about 40 miles of range. And so you realize like the continuous cycle of these batteries is going to be like half a C, right? For a 2-hour discharge. So I mean, you can even do less than 4C. And so that's the cool thing about these. And I'm trying to experiment with these. I took one apart. And check these out, guys. Apparently, there's all kinds of different manufacturers, again, of these runs, right? And there were some really good, high quality. I think this is decent quality. I mean, it seems like the stator here, these things that are laser cut, sometimes they're laser cut, sometimes they're die cut, sometimes they could be rough. These are pretty good. The windings are pretty they're pretty. Sometimes they're a bit rough. They have all these little plastics that are separating and insulators. Yeah, it seems like it's high quality. Then some of them don't even have this PCV that for the sensors, right? Some of them are just have wires, and I mean, I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I saw a few videos where they were saying like if they have the PCB on them, then you have good motors, like high quality motors. Also, it's got the magnets on the side of the wheel also are pretty tight. There's no gaps in between them, which is also supposed to be a good sign of a good motor. And so the only problem with using these hoverboard motor wheels, is that they're not designed to run at high speeds, right? Because of course, remember, these are for you to be standing with your feet side to side, not like in a longboard. And so I think at 36 volts, these are wound to only spin about 2,000 RPMs, which I think that translates to about 10 miles per hour. And so they're not going to go super fast. I don't know if 10 miles per hour is fast enough for an off-road because, you know, you're in a rough terrain. But if not, I think I'm going to try to overvolt them to 48 volts. And so I think because I'm going to be using like 4 of them, the duty cycle is still going to be super low. You know, someone at 200 pounds with 4 motors, they're going to be, these are supposed to move someone 200 pounds, 10 miles an hour with 2 motors. So with 4 motors, yeah, and they're kind of chunky, right? And so they could dissipate quite a bit of heat. I think it's going to be fine. I think the problem is that we're going to be shredding them, you know, like I don't know how how durable this stuff is. It seems pretty good. I mean, I don't know, not for like ripping apart and, you know, rocks and stuff. So anyways, that is the experiment that I'm gonna do. I gotta figure out how to mount that stator, which is basically this wheel, into a skateboard truck, one of those big ones that have the, you know, the extra springs for thing or whatever, and then get a nice little board. I order a regular truck with a mount so that you can do like a regular motor, right? Because I have those motors here and I got to do something with them, and so I think I'm gonna throw that in the board that my neighbor brought me, and then, you know, that I'm gonna give that to him, and then mine is gonna be a hub wheel, you know, all-wheel drive, electric off-road skateboard. So anyways, I hope that you guys find this interesting. Another thing is it seems like I said, it seems like if you get the cheap Chinese, I think it's like $100. You can get the truck and the two wheels for like $100, right? So if you buy two of those to do an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, then that's $200 worth of components. And then the dual motor controller already wires to do, you know, four-wheel drive. You can get it for like $114 shipped. Of course, all from China. It takes a long time. That's the only downside to that. But you're like $300 in, and you have something that now you can throw like a $50 battery, right? Like 50 cells. You don't have to do like the ones that I'm doing, right? You can buy one of these like medical batteries. These have like I think these are 2,900 milliamp hours. Tom has the 2,600 milliamp hours, right? Like with these guys, right? You can buy for $99. You can buy 99 of these. Where's it? $99? Something like that. So somewhere around $100. You won't need all of them. You could use half of them or less than half of them. Because these are like the 2,600 milliamp hours. So for like $50 worth of battery, you can have a board that can go, you know, I don't know, at least 20 miles of range, 22 miles per hour. It'll have enough torque to like go up the steepest hills, because I actually tested mine, like super steep hill that I have here, no problem whatsoever. I think it slows down to like 50 miles an hour or something. And those are, you know, performance marks that are only available with boards that are like, you know, $1,200, $1,300. The Evolve GT or whatever, that one's like $1,800, right? And I think that one has like 30 miles range, which is still shy of this one right here. So this one will take it as range. Maybe the speed, 22 miles an hour. That is the max, right? Because that's where it's designed. So, you know, if you're experienced, yeah, you can go 22 miles an hour. But if you're like me and you're just learning around, like not a lot of people need to go like faster than 22 miles an hour. So at least for me, I'm okay with not going faster than that. As you can see, I crashed and I fell and almost broke my arm. The only thing is that these wheels, for example, you can't change this polyurethane, right? And this is kind of a weak one. The first batch had bad or really soft polyurethane, but now I have heard that the new batch is actually pretty durable, and they have those available on the Meepo website. And it's only available right now in the black, so you can't buy the red one or whatever. So if you guys are gonna build a skateboard now in April 2018, and you guys want to, you know, like not just build the cheapest skateboard, but build something that has, you know, the performance of like the mid-level or high or expensive skateboards, I think you can't go wrong with these Chinese Meepo style boards. And they come in different sizes, right? Like, so this is another take on that one, and it's not as good because the motor is not as big, the stator is not as thick or whatever. But I think it would be good enough, and I'm contemplating using this one for my board because it would take off about 2 pounds. So this two wheels plus the truck, it's about a pound lighter than this one, and so I don't know about the durability of the urethane on this wheels right here, but if I can shave 2 pounds, I don't know, is it worth shaving 2 pounds by having a slightly less powerful motor? I think if you have motors that are way over spec'd, I don't think it's, I think it's worth it, right? If you can gain something like a lighter board for at the cost of some power that you don't actually need and use anyways. So I think that is the experiment that I'm still going through. And then as far as the other one, I think I'm going to do that with the hoverboard wheels, right? And so that's going to be super interesting because it's like $10 per board, so you're like $40 in just for the motors. And then I'm going to try to do it just with the same speed controller for like that I'm using on here and see how that does. Those motors are bigger, 350 watts, you know. And by the way, 350 watts, that's a lot of power. I mean, that's, you know, my bus uses 300 watt hours per mile. So, yeah, it's a lot of power. Okay. So let's see. What are you guys saying? I know I've been talking for a while, and I haven't been reading your message. Should I go back here, or should I just ignore it and I'll answer the ones that you start posting right now? Let's see. Let me go back for a little while. Let's see. I have 2 of those currently for my bike project, and they are a little finicky. I have used a brushless e-bike motor controller to run mine with some tinkering. Yeah, I have a brushless e-bike motor controller. It seems kind of cheap, but I haven't messed with it yet. So I've seen videos of people doing it. Let's see. What's the KV on those pieces of cheap crap? Why not use the 8? I don't know. I don't know which ones you're referring. Let's see. Some cheaper quality ones use bamboo sticks inside as spacers, so beware. Oh, did I see some bamboo sticks somewhere? Let's see. I think I might have seen that. Okay, so the hoverboard wheels or motors don't have bamboo, but I did see on some. Yep. Here we go. This ones have bamboo sticks, you know, and I looked at them and I thought like, oh, I wonder what that material is. But now that you mention it, yeah, that looks like bamboo. So this is this cheaper motor. Not the Meepo style one, not this one. So I wonder what we'll do. What is having bamboo separators here? Actually, it almost seems like it's just to keep the windings in their raceway. Yeah, and look at this one. This one is kind of messy with the windings. It almost looks like they beat them so that they wouldn't rub up against the thing that spins, right? It just looks like they put something in there and then like hammer it down, and yeah, the windings are a bit messy on this one. So yeah, right off the top, it didn't seem like they're as good as these other ones. But these ones look pretty good. Look at the craftsmanship on that. Okay, another question I had seen from you guys is, or comment, I don't know if you guys saw the last video where we went to see the whales, and I had my board on the sand, and I was like making it, you know, spin, and I was trying to make it like peel out on the sand, and I mean, that was literally off-road. And so people were saying like, oh, I wonder if any sand is going to get inside the motors. The answer is yes, some sand did get inside the motors. Not a whole bunch, but I can see some sand, at least on the inside here of the raceway. The cool thing about those motors is that they do have seal bearings, but you can see here that on this side there's sand, on the inner side there is no sand, and there's no sand on the actual rotor here. So yeah, something to think about if you're gonna take your your skateboard. I mean, I think eventually with time, you know, some dust is gonna get in there, right? Because it's not 100% sealed. But yeah, that's also a thing to keep in mind. Let's see. You should definitely pot the windings in epoxy or the motor will die quite fast when exposed to vibration. Huh. Which motors? Well, yeah, I guess any of them, right? How do you pot the winding? I think you just get some potting compound and then you put it in there, right? It's basically an epoxy thing, resin that you put on there, and then you just put it in there so the windings don't move. Like, those windings don't have to move. They're there, and they create the magnetic field just on those, on that metallic thing that they're going around. Let's see. Use 8 of them. Nope, not fast enough. Unfortunately, my large skateboard is only 1 wheel and a belt. As you can make an 8x8 skateboard, how do you control acceleration or braking? Well, so the speed controller does that, right? So let's see. Here's a version of it. Here's a version that I didn't like. It was cutting in and out. Dual BLDC ESC for HUV motors. But the ones that I have on the final board here look similar to this, but the performance, it's a lot better. Those are really smooth. The braking is really smooth. Here's another speed controller, right? These are the open source VESCs, Vetter speed controllers. This version here is made by Inertian Boards, and they call it a Footbox. And this is a slightly better version. I think they have all the MOSFETs like on the same side of the board, and they have the ones that are, you know, pressed up against this aluminum extrusion piece right here, and so the cooling is much better because then you have this aluminum thing here to dissipate. Some of the other ones like I use on the other skateboard don't have that. This thing also has the MOSFETs or right up against this thing here. But this one's kind of sucked. And see, here's some potting too. So let me see. I don't know if this is called potting, but these also have some kind of material. Oh, and this one is kind of rubbery. It's not like hard as some others. But yeah, it's some kind of covering that they put on the circuit boards there to encapsulate it so that it doesn't, you know, it deals better with the vibrations and, you know, dirt and dust and stuff like that. Let's see. Look at 1/5 scale or larger RC suspension. Oh, that's an interesting idea. 1/5. It's those are big size cars and stuff, right? And the cool thing about those is they have like differentials and all that stuff. Yeah, that could, as the gas starts getting interesting. I've seen some off-road electric skateboards that have like the motor on the inside, and then they have like shafts, you know. And yeah, that's all that stuff. You can use the vest to test the kV of those hubs. You can even use the drivetrain. I bought a box of them, super awesome, for 150 USD. Let's see. I want to measure the electric motor directly on the differential. I had a contact in China who was willing to sell me 18650s at $1 as long as I bought 20,000 of them, but I thought too dodgy. I also have a contact in LG Chem, but too much trouble. Yeah. Viril has those motors with changeable PU. Oh, okay. Wait, but I mean, I thought I saw that in the video, but the way you change it is just by changing the whole outer casing, right? Like, so you basically could buy this without the rotor. Wait, or is that the rotor and this is... Oh, I might be calling these parts the wrong thing. Which I guess is no problem, I guess, as long as you can get the part that you need it to replace. It just seems kind of a waste to like chuck this because the thing is done, you know what I mean? Like, I think the thing that, because I think these are selling so much, I think, and they're so popular. Maybe the thing is that someone's gonna find a way to put like another piece of rubber out here, or something, or glue a thing in here with like a bigger wheel or a thing or some different. It's called conformal coating. Okay, so that's what that thing is on that on that circuit board there for that. Let's see. Skateboard question. 18650 question. I have 80 recycled batteries, Samsung, 2600 milliamp hour. What should I use? 10S 7P? What do you recommend? 900 watt motors. Well, remember, like, you should measure what your board does. Like, build your board, put the batteries, put some lipos or something at 10S if you want to do 10S, and then put a little thing there to measure the amperage. I did that with my board, and I realized that mine doesn't see any more than 40 amps. And it only would see like 40 amps at hard acceleration. And the reason for that is that because you have 4 motors, it actually becomes very efficient, right? Like you have 4 sources of power that are delivering their power to the ground. And so even though you have, I don't know what these are. I think these are, I don't know what they're rated at. But they're rated more than 4. I think it's like 24 amps. Yeah, 24 amps per ESC, I believe. Right? So in theory, the 4 motors should be able to pull like 100 amps, right? Yeah, and I think that's when I did my calculations. I thought, I need the lipos because I need 100 amps, right? But in reality, you don't need that, because unless you're really heavy and you're trying to like, go uphill and accelerate uphill, starting from a dead stop, like you almost never gonna see that. And so if you're never gonna see that, or you're gonna see that for a split second once your board gets going, then the load changes, then you realize that you don't need to build that giant battery. At least that's what I'm getting at. I'm like, why are all these skateboard builders using like these 30 amp, they're using like 30 amp continuous like cells, 3,000 milliamp hours, right? Those brown ones or whatever. And that's okay, because your battery, if you build a battery that's more capable than you ever need, then it's gonna last a long time, right? But you don't need to, right? You could get away with something else like these 2,600 milliamp hours. So 10S 7P, that's 70 cells. That's a heavy board. Now you're talking about 8 pounds of battery or something, which, then with the motors and the thing and the box, you're going to end up like me. I have a 25-pound skateboard, and I'm like, that's too heavy. I don't want that thing that heavy. I still want the range. I still want the power. I just don't want. And so that's where I'm like now playing and fudging around to see where I can get it the lightest possible, but still keep somewhat of that performance. I mean, I think I'd be willing to give like, I don't know, 7 miles of 7-8 miles of range, for lighter, for like 2 pounds lighter or something, And so that's what I'm playing right now. But for right now, what it seems like, these motors are pretty decent. If you get the ones with the good urethane, they're gonna last you forever. I know people are saying that they're crap, but I think you put them up against one of your premium boards, and I think they're gonna perform really well, especially if you build a an all-wheel drive like this. And even if you get there like 80% of the performance, for 1/4 of the price or something like that, you're like, yeah, I'd do that. Can buy 3 boards. Let's see. Where can I find a BMS for 10S for a Meepo style battery, 2 or more? You can find them on eBay. Oh, this is a 14S. I thought this was a 10S. I ordered a 10S, 45 amp This is a 14 amps 45 amp, so it hasn't gotten here. That's the thing about China, it takes forever. But I do have, what are these? Oh look, this is a 10S 20 amp. I think this will work on a Meepo. I think with 2 motors, yeah, I think with, well, I don't know, maybe your motors will pull more than that if it only has 2 and if you're heavy. But again, do the test. You can put this in there. If your battery cuts off, then that means that you ran this too hard, more than the 20 amps. I don't know how these behave once you like load them up and more than they're willing to give you, right? I don't know if they can like instantly they cut off, because I haven't done those tests, but you know, they will in the future. And by the way, that's cheap. I think those were like 15 bucks, 20 bucks or something like that. So they're not. I bought those on eBay. Let's see. What are you guys saying? I have a solution. Carbon nanotubes. Yeah, that's a good solution. Let's see. Consider carbon fiber deck or battery box. I'm considering doing, because it's an aluminum box and it's super rigid, which is cool because I can stand on it. I can carve. You could carve on this thing if you wanted to, and the batteries would be safe. But it's a bit heavy, and so I was thinking of like maybe like forming like a battery box so that I can do several and it would flex. So that's the other thing that I'm doing. My road bike made by Carbondale weighs 22 pounds. Yeah, exactly. Like, this weighs more than your bike, which is, it's cool when you're riding on it, because it's a really stable board. It's just to the point where you get to where you're going and you have to pick it up and you're like, holy crap, what is this thing, you know? Hills kill hubs. Off-road kills hubs. Hubs are fine if you want to go slow or stay on flat ground. What do you mean kills them? Like, did they fall apart? Did they stop working after a while? Or you're saying they just don't perform? Because this thing performed uphill, no problem. I stopped in the middle of the hill and I started going and it just went like, they didn't even realize I was in the board. And I don't even have like, you know, like I said, I don't even have power cells. I have, you know, I have energy cells, 3,400 milliamp hours. I'm rather surprised that none of these motors have heat sinks. Oh, by the way, the only motor that we ever really overheated to the point where like it was smelling and we were touching, and like when we would grab it from the truck and it was like, oh man, this truck is hot, are the little ones, the red ones, these ones right here, right? This one, I rode it straight for, what was it? I put in 25 miles? I put straight on 25 miles, you know, non-stop. And when I got to my destination, I grabbed it and it's like, it was just warm. Like, it was nothing. Okay, so half that trip was going downhill. Well, I mean, you know, up and down, and then down. But then half of that was coming up the hill. And so it was the same thing. So yeah, they don't get hot. Now when you're having 4 of them, when you're sharing the load between 4 of them. Let's see. The grip tape should be solar panel. Constantly charge the board. Yeah, it would work, except you'd have to leave your board out in the sun. When that BMS cuts out on you when you're cruising down a hill, you will face plant. Please use BMS for charge only and not for discharge to your motor. You know, it is something to think about, because before going up that super steep hill, I didn't have to, but I decided to come down it. And it was really hairy because, you know, it was like full-on brakes, and it's just like I was just going down. But I thought, if anything happens to this board, it just instantly just goes and I'm on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, well, either I'm staying on the board and then I'm doing, 50 miles an hour like in a split second, or the board takes off under my feet, and then I'm on the ground. It is something to think about, because the same amount of energy transfer that it is accelerating going uphill, some similar amounts of energy are being pushed back into the battery when your motors and your speed controllers are braking and shoving that energy back into your thing. So definitely something to think about. Okay, do you think the 60 kilowatt hour LG battery?
Who are you talking to?
Do you think the 60 kilowatt hour battery, LG battery, on the Chevy Volt be good for an off-grid setup? How much solar do you think will be needed? Yeah, 60 kilowatt. Wait. Oh, on the new Bolt. Yeah, 60 kilowatt hours is that's half of the energy that I use here at my house. So that battery would power my entire home in the summer for 2 days. So yeah, you could totally use it. You would have to be able to charge whatever you use in 24-hour period. You have to be able to charge that battery that same amount of energy in 5.5 hours. In the summer is longer hours, in the winter is shorter, so it averages out, I think, in the US at 5.5 hours. If you're in Southern California, you probably could do a little bit less, because most of your days are going to be longer, but I think it works out to that average. So in order to have a system that just every day it replenishes it, and then you have some, if you have to have some cushion there for like a rainy day or a cloudy day, or when you have the in-laws and they use a lot of energy. So yeah, 60 kilowatt hours. Yeah, just basically work out whatever 30 kilowatt hours, divided by 5.5. That's how many solar panels needs to be up on your roof. Of course, that's if you want to run 100%, or you want to run off grid. If you don't, then you can have a smaller system and you just supplement, basically, and you just, whatever the solar panels get, that goes into your battery, and then you use some of that. Whenever the battery's low, then, you use from the grid. You could have a system like that. It's not all black and white. Like, I know a lot of people like to see the world that way. It's nothing. It's like that, in fact. Most of the stuff is like, in the middle. Why not build the battery box out of plywood? Well, you could, but I mean, you could, yeah, why not? It's going to be kind of big, because you want to have kind of thick walls. You got to protect those batteries. When that BMS, okay, so I already read that. Okay, what's going on here? Put the solar panels on the long trailer behind the skateboard. Yeah, that would do it. I think, solar doesn't work on a full-size vehicle, because you have like 3,000 pounds of metal that you have to move around. But in a skateboard or an e-bike, in a personal transport vehicle, you could do that. Solar panels are viable. They are efficient enough to create enough energy, to push you around. So that could happen, there are teams that do electric solar cars, right? Bicycles, and even cars that are like cars, they're more like bicycle things like that. What about hoverboard motors? Yeah, what about them? I have them. We're gonna try and use them for an off-road vehicle. You should build a solar charging rig for your house. You should build a solar charging rig for your house so you can charge your electric skateboard with with truly zero emissions. Well, I actually have it here. If actually, you know what? I could have been charging. I've only charged my skateboard like once or twice, I think. And both times I think I plugged it into the outlet that's from the house and not from my power wall. But if I next time plug it into that one right here, then yeah, I'll be able to plug it completely off of solar energy. Let's see. Will I need a BMS for the 60 kilowatt hour off-grid set? Depends. You don't need a BMS, but if your knowledge of battery, if you're asking if you need one, that means your knowledge of batteries is somewhat limited, and so I would, recommend you do use one. I don't use BMS on my batteries. I'm running a 54 kilowatt hour battery in my car. I have this one here, but I am using a BMS here because I'm testing it, because I have to recommend that, and I have to be able to, like, we're designing systems where we can hand them over to people that doesn't know anything about batteries, and they don't want to know anything about batteries. They just want to know how to turn it on and then just walk away, right? And so in order to do that, then you need a BMS. You need something that will be able to manage your batteries. And the Batrium one that I have linked in every single one of my videos, the reason why is because that's a very powerful system. Basically, you can remotely look at what the battery is doing, not only right now, but you can see what the battery has been doing for months. It's got a logging thing, and you can see, like, oh, this battery stopped taking a charge, or this group of batteries started, having trouble in X day, so there's a ton of features that are cool. You can remotely do a lot of things and know exactly what your battery is doing and stuff. And so that's why that system is really good. It's kind of expensive, $600, but when you look at what you gain, like the kinds of features that it has, yeah, $600 is nothing. And it will be a very powerful system eventually once they have it where you can, like a Powerwall, like Tesla's Powerwall. You'll be able to, like, bring up an app, look at it, and you'll be like, oh, look, my house is using battery right now from the Powerwall, or my battery, is charging or stopped charging two days ago. If you're, like, on vacation, halfway across the world, like, it's gonna be like that, so that's why I totally support that BMS system. And that's why I'm testing it here. Let's see. Check out Psychotiller cases for bigger battery housing made by with ABS. Oh, I'll look at that. What BMS would you use for a 4S 80p battery pack? Ooh, 80p. Ooh, that means that you have a lot of batteries. That means, that all depends what kind of load you're gonna load that with. I'm doing some experiments, like I've gone, like I just finished saying about Batrium and stuff, but I also need to, like, there are obviously going to be, like, little devices that we're gonna be using, and you need a battery, and that you can't put this giant BMS on there, right? So I have been experimenting with all kinds of little ones. This one, for example, it's a single cell BMS, and it'll do 10 amps. Which is crazy, right? 10 amps. That means that I can put a couple of, like, 18650s on here, and then put one of these, and then a couple more, and then put a little BMS. And so basically I can do, like, groups of batteries that can do, and they'll be able to deliver, like, 10 of these. This can deliver like 100 amps, right? If you build that battery that way. So I don't know. There's different ways you can design a battery like that. If you're building a big battery, then I would suggest Batrium, because it's the easiest thing. If you're building something smaller, then yeah, there are a bunch of BMS systems out there that are popping out now, and there are different degrees of quality. So yeah, as soon as I have a little bit more experience, a little bit more projects, me using them, I still have a tendency to not use them. My skateboard doesn't have one. You know, I was trying to cram everything in there, and I'm like, this doesn't have room for BMS. Screw it, I'm not gonna use it. But I do need to use it so I can gain some experience using them. Can I only use 18650, or are there better performance to size ratio batteries I can use? Is there better size well, it depends what kind of performance. Energy density, no, I think it's, yeah, I mean, energy density, like, I realize, like, you know, like those batteries that I'm using, 3400 milliamp hours, those are, like, really good. I think, what are they, like, 220 watt hours per kilogram or something like that, right? I know the LG packs, the ones that I was using, the ones that we took out of the Chrysler Pacifica, they're about the same, I think, 220 watt hours per kilogram. That's where Tesla's at, right? That's where the model is at. I know you can get like all kinds of like LiPo cells for like the phones that are doing that kind of, because these need to be the smallest, right? But if you're talking about power, you can't beat LiPos. I mean, LiPos, they have 100C LiPos that are like this big, you know what I mean? Like, and they can do 100 times their capacity. There's nothing on 18650s that can do more than like 10 Cs. I mean, right? Like, what's the biggest cell that we can have? It's like 30 amp continuous, right? At 300. I mean, I have these ones that are 30 amp, right? But they're really poor. I mean, like, the size, they're really big and heavy for that. I mean, these are 1.5, so they're less than that. They're like 7C at 30 amps. No, is it? Oh, actually, it's actually more than that. Yeah, because it's a smaller cell. So, anyways, I think, yeah, like, I think the highest you can do is like 10 or 15C on 18650. So, if you're talking about that kind of performance, no, you can definitely get better than 18650s. But if you're talking about energy density, yeah, 18650s, you can get them at the best that there is right now, at least commercially. I don't know if there are some other ones that are like way better. Let's see. I disassembled a laptop battery for 18650 cells and found most of the cells to be under 2.3 volts. Do I charge them back up, or should I just throw them away? Charge them back up, cycle them a few times, because I mean, I can get any cell. This is a good cell, and I can, you know, put a load on here and discharge it to 1 volt. It's gonna start degrading if I leave it there for a few years. But, you know, if you come back tomorrow and then you charge it, and then it's like, you know, it's a good battery. So it just depends how long the batteries have been there. It depends how they got there to that low voltage and how long they've been there. If both of those are, you know, relatively like gentle, and they've been there for, you know, maybe a few weeks or a few months or something, then the batteries might be okay. But the only way to know is by you cycling them. You put charge, but then get a thing, one of these things that cycles them. I still have to make that video, but I'm not making videos right now because I'm still working on my taxes and all this other stuff. Let's see. What BMS are you using? I don't know which BMS. I am not using BMS. It depends which project you're talking about. What about capacitor batteries? No, capacitor batteries, they're not good. The energy density is really low. So unless you want to have a skateboard that only goes, you know, a couple miles, I would suggest not to do that. What about the yellow BW bus concept shown months ago? I feel a little deprecated already. Yeah, welcome to the club. They've been touting that thing for like a decade. 2170 is a bigger cell and can carry 5,000 milliamp hours for its size. You could fit more as less space. Remember, it's a circle with the gaps between the cells. Oh yeah, so I kind of looked at the current market of 2170s, right? And I think, what was the biggest one that I can find? 4,800 milliamp hours, which is very close actually to 5,000, right? I have one, and I actually tested it. That's actually in the thing there, and it's only 3,000 milliamp hours. So this is the only 2170s that I have, and 3,000 amp hours, 3,000 milliamp hours. I was like, forget that. I mean, this is bigger, and it's got less than the cells that I got in there. Forget it. And then I did test 26650 that I have there, and that actually gave me like 5,300 milliamp hours. So that one's promising, but I need to do the math. I think it's too big, right? 26650s are, when you add them up, they're not. Yeah, they're almost. Yeah, I don't think they're. I think they're about as dense as those. So yeah, the only way to get more dense batteries would be to get the 2170s that are 5,000 milliamp hours. But I haven't seen that. I think I saw an LG that was 40, and they're really expensive. They're like 15 bucks each. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. There's Tom doesn't have those yet. Let's see. 2.4 volts, it's about the low end of voltage, but watch its heat as it charges for the first time, as well as other good tests. Yeah, that's correct. Just watch it. Just cycle it a few times. If it gets hot, then it's not a good cell. If it loses, if you leave it charge 4.2 volts and then you come back a day or two and it's lost more than, 0.2 of a volt, it's not going to be a good battery. Because I guess if you're going to use it as a standalone battery, you could use it. But if you're going to use it in a pack, it's not going to be good, because that's going to be drifting away from other batteries that are potentially not losing as much, as much energy, and so that's why it wouldn't be good. So yeah, 21700, not 21700. So it's the same cell. It's just the different. It's just what they're calling them, right? 2170s or 21700s. What's the difference on those cells? Yeah, other than brand. Can those single cell BMS boards be used in a series of batteries? I believe so. I believe they can be. And I have heard some people that have said that no, you can't. But I haven't read a compelling reason as to why. So we're going to do that test. Remember when I built that little I built that generator for Puerto Rico, and I use those GPS cells that have their own BMS. So those I was using, what's it, 3S, 4S? I think I did 4S, and there's no problem running. Like they don't know. They just know that they're pushing power. Like they don't know that power is being aggregated and added for bigger. I don't think they do, right? And so I haven't seen a problem with that. I haven't really used that much, but I was thinking of actually redoing it, and I might actually take off that DC to DC. One, because people can't get those cells, and two, because it was kind of sloppy design, because I had to use 3.7 volt cells that don't do 12 volts, and so to use a 12 volt inverter, I have to use a DC to DC, and that's just sloppy design, right? But I think now that we have 18650s that are lithium iron phosphate, I think I'm going to redo that and do an update, and then build a pack using these 4S of these. Get rid of the DC to DC, and then we'll be able to do it better. But now we will need some kind of BMS, and so I think that's why I got these, so I can test them out. And these are super cheap, but again, it takes forever from China. Yeah, I think for someone that plans ahead, it's great. But like me, I have an idea and I'm like, oh, let me do this thing, and then a few days later you're like, forget all about it. It doesn't work. The ceiling fan shut off. Yes, this thing is the world's worst product here. Let's see, how did you set up the gas pedal for your VW bus? I would imagine you would have to replace it, right? No, I actually got a pot assembly. And then it has a little lever with a little spring, and then I just ran a tiny little cable from my pedal down to that little pot assembly. So it has a throttle cable, but it's just this short. And I think I just used a regular like cable, and then I just made loops, made like a little eye on the end, and then I just solder it. So now I just load it up, and because it's a custom size, cable, and that's what I use. And then once it fell off or something, I don't remember what happened, but like I was at a stop, and then I was gonna go, and then I went to go in the gas, and it what? So I had to in the middle of traffic go under and get under there, and then kind of fix it. I had a zip tie. And I had to go in the back, put a zip tie, put it on there, and I did that all in the red light, so that the second time I cycled to green light, then I was go. Because the first green light came and I couldn't go, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? And so then by the time it cycled to red and then back to green, I was ready to go, and then I went. So that was interesting. Let me see. Can I make a power wall from headway cells? Yes, you can. Okay, let's see. Tesla 2170 is made up of lithium, nickel, cobalt, aluminum oxide, which is in the same as your typical lithium-ion cell. Oh, I see. Thank you for answering, Jehu. Truckload of A12370 amp cells coming in 17 days. Oh, this is Tom. Tom Ammerman, gentlemen. He's watching the show this time around. There we go. We have A123 cells. Wait, truckload of A123s? So those, by the way, since this is it's electric skateboard theme live discussion. As I heard, that's what the boosted board uses, right? It uses A123's cells, the 2.3 volts, 70 amp ones. And I think the reason why they do that is, of course, because they want to have a small battery that's under 100 watt hours, but still can deliver the amount of power that both of those motors will need to have that acceleration. So that's why they need the 70 amp output of those batteries, right? Except that the energy density is not as good as the lithium ion cells, and so that's why they only get 7 miles or something. But they do need to stay under the 100 watt hour size so that they can fly it or whatever, even though I think, they have trouble flying, getting them into airplanes and stuff. 17 days, huh? That means they're going to arrive while we're in Puerto Rico, Tom. Let's see. Oh, no. Let's see. Do you know of any decent $100 balancing BMS boards? All the BMS I find only balance 50 milliamps. No, I don't know. I did see some. I did see a website the other day that had big 150, 200 amp BMS systems, right? But they were really expensive and really big. I mean, they were this big giant circuit boards, right? And multi-layered and stuff. Yeah, and it's such a weird thing because it's why are you guys using MOSFETs to switch like this, essentially this on-off switch. Why don't you just use like a contactor? You know, it's like it's just a bad design because then you have to like add like giant heat sinks to like dissipate all that heat. You know, when you're talking about something like this, something small, yeah, the easiest way is to put a MOSFET in there to switch on and off, right? But when you're talking about something that is, you're gonna be pushing, you know, a few hundred amps, yeah, I don't know if, you know, yeah, I think probably like a mechanical, you know. Yeah, so that's, no, I don't, sorry, I don't have, like, again, for our cars, we don't use BMSs as of yet right now. Now, I think, I am thinking of using this Batrium one for my bus, but that one's actually different. So it does have the resistive load to balance, but the actual main load doesn't have to go through a board. So you have everything connected through a contactor, right? So you have full access to all the battery's potential. And that's a much better design than having like these boards that go through. Yeah, it's like, that's dumb. And so I think EV West also is developing one, and now they're using it. My brother just told me that he did his first conversion where he used the BMS and now it's running. So I'm like, oh, I gotta see that. And it's a nice little box, and then it's got the little cables. It's just, it's yeah, it's definitely, I think the features might not be as extensive as this Batrium one, right? Batrium's kind of designed for this, like, you know, Powerwall thing. This one is more for like cars, which is slightly different application. Let's see. And bam, what's swole up while charging? Something's swole up on. Let's see. Change to 18650 or go buy a LiPo cells to fit in there. The biggest. What you got? Wait, what? What you interested in EV battery from camera stuffs? Oh, what got you? I wanted an electric car and I couldn't buy one because Tesla wasn't selling them at the time. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna build it myself. So I just went and started doing some research, bought some batteries, and then I'm like, whoa, these things are cool. And then the whole battery, you know, the Tesla Powerwall came out, and I thought, oh my God, it's brilliant. Yes, why not use the battery to power your home? And then, you know, it's just, yeah, it's never, the rest is history. Now I'm doing this stuff here. And so now I actually want to do videos. I'm really don't want to, like, you know, this is going to become the norm. Like, this is only new right now. You guys are interested in it just because, you know, you don't have one. But eventually when it's, in the next few years, you know, you're going to go to Walmart and they're going to be, you know, power walls. You're going to be like a thing that you can just, it's basically going to become like a water heater. You know, it's just a piece of device that you put in your home, and you can go to any, you know, hardware store and get it and put it in there, and you just have to hire a, you know, electrician to do it and stuff. So this doesn't have a long life, you know. I think right now it's kind of exciting because no one's using batteries this way, but even though batteries been along for a long time, it's just, you know, we're going through this transitional period. Eventually, this is not going to be interesting anymore, you know. And I see that day already, and so that's the reason why I want to do this right now, and I'm embracing it as you know, as I can do some good right now, you know. And but I think eventually I want to concentrate on other things and storytelling and videos and stuff, because that's what I always wanted to do. That's why I started making video camera accessories, because I wanted to do video. I wanted to be able to develop my skills as a storyteller. And right now, just I'm telling stories about batteries, but it's not always going to be the case. But while it is, I'm here, you know, talking about batteries. I love Puerto Rico. T-Mobile works there, just as the continental U.S. Are you taking your new electric skateboard? Yeah, Well, actually, no, I can't fly with it because it doesn't have a battery. Unless I take it without a battery, and then I build a battery over there, and then I ride around over there. Or if I build a battery, a second battery, and send it to Tom, and then he can send it. Oh, no, the pallet's being picked up tomorrow. No, there's no time for that. Yeah, that is the challenge. I think I'm just, if I do, I'm going to have to send it without battery. I wonder, wait, if I ship it, can I ship it? No, I tried that and I can ship it. Only Tom can ship. I would have to ship it to Tom and then Tom ship it there. And then, it's too much trouble. It's too much trouble. I think I'm just going to walk it. You should call it with Peter Striple. Yes, I would love to. That guy is pretty awesome. I did offer to help him with the battery. Remember when they build that? This guy's crazy. He built an RC plane big enough for him to fit inside and powerful enough for him to be able to fly inside, right? So he built like a full-size RC plane. And he's using like this LiPo like RC LiPo batteries to power it, right? And I'm like, dude, you need some like, bigger batteries than that, because he was only getting like 7 minutes or some crazy like short time, right? Like I have some, these Pacifica ones, they put out like 800 amps, and they're like super energy dense, so they're not heavy, they're like as good as a Tesla battery, So. I did post it in his video, but I never checked back if he actually answered or... yeah, it would be so cool to do something with him. Because that guy, he's not afraid to explore new territory when it comes to that stuff. Which motor is good for EV? AC or DC? AC all the way. You don't... Yeah. DC it's old school now. Only if you want to do drag racing. That's the only way. Oh man, the battery's dying. All right, let me change it and then we'll let's see. And then we'll call it quits here, but let me just change it before we do that. Cuz what time is it? Oh man, that's it. I'm just going to sign off. All right, am I back? Am I back? Let's see, camera and battery. So by the way, guys, I don't know if I'm back yet. Let me take off all those things that are kind of annoying. Oh my god. Come on. Is there a thing here? Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but like a lot of the stuff that we use have 18650 base batteries. So these are not 18650s. These are like 14650s. No, 18, not 6, not 8, not 18650s is like 18. They're shorter, but they're 18 millimeters in diameter. So if you look at this battery, so essentially my camera there is running on two of those, 7.2 volts, 13.4 watt hours. Wow. So yeah, so essentially about the equivalent of this battery. Actually no, this is a 2900 milliamp hour. So one of the ones that I have in my skateboard, they're like 12 watt hours, so that's 13. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, huh? That how dense those batteries on my skateboard are. Let's see. Which battery do you think would be best for a model plane? Well, LiPos, right? Because they have all the power, and you need a lot of power. Well, unless you have a really efficient one, maybe not. Depends. Depends on the project. Okay, let's see. You could probably get FedEx hazmat shipping for the skateboard with the battery. I think they'll do it. Well, yeah, except that no, you have to be certified. You could ship it, and they will take it, and then they will say, hey, you didn't fill the right forms. You need, you only have 5 forms here, but you need like 10 different forms. And then, so they'll return it to you, and then you're like, oh wait, I needed those other ones, but nowhere it said that I needed that. And I mean, we've had this conversation with Tom. Tom has been doing this now for a few years. Even he gets stuff sent back. And it took him a long time to get the right certification for them to, like, accept the forms that he submitted, right? Because they trusted that he knows what he's doing. But if you and I fill those forms and do the thing, they're like, no. So, yeah, it's a big mess. It's not easy. We tried it. So it's too much trouble. What do you use it safe inside? Outside? You mean as far as like the fumes and stuff? I don't know. Yeah, I have this one here, and I should really get a respirator, but I don't do well. I'd like to think I don't do a lot of soldering. But yeah, I mean, if I probably should get an extractor thing or the respirator thing. Yeah, because that's probably not a good thing. Let's see, what else? Can you make a video on making an alternator to a BLDC motor? Making an alternator to a BLDC motor. I don't understand. You're saying using a BLDC motor as an alternator? I did think about using those hoverboard wheels as one of the windmill thing, right? I thought like, oh, one of these things, and then one of these little speed controllers, with the with regenerative braking. Like, you could totally charge batteries with that. You can create energy, right? Like, you can control it, because that's what you need on a thing. You always need kind of a load and stuff. You never know. Maybe we'll do one of those later. Yeah, we used to have extractors. I could run in a backpack, then cord it axle from your bag be a good idea for a board? Thought of it a while back, like the power loss might be too sick. No, you totally could do it. Like, yeah, I mean, you can have a battery pack in your backpack and go on forever. 4 hours on your skateboard, go 100 miles or something. Totally doable. I don't know if you want to be that long on a skateboard. It's funny because even people that ride on skateboard, they're like, oh my god, 15 miles, that's getting a little. I was like, man, I went like 25 miles on like one of my first times. How's that crazy? And then I fell and almost broke my, I don't know, I guess maybe I was on a high because it was my first time. I was just starting to get comfortable and starting to enjoy riding a skateboard. Oh, I see. He's asking, convert a used auto alternator and convert it to a motor. Oh, no, that's not possible. Let's see. No, I don't think that's possible. Can you make it into a motor? Let's see. I remember I did some research for that. Because I wanted to do something, and then I was like, oh, no, you can't do it the way they're wired. Okay, so alternators have a built-in bridge, like a rectifier bridge inside. So at least a lot of the models, you have to like go inside and rip a bunch of stuff apart, and it's too much work. You're like, by that time. They also have the rotor has like a winding also, so you gotta excite it to be able to produce. So it's not like a straight So it's kind of a weird motor. It's not just like a three-phase motor, it's not even a BLDC. So it's a weird motor. So you'd need power to be able to produce power. So you would need like two separate speed controllers, I think, to be able to adjust. And then you adjust the power you put on the rotor to be able to adjust the fields for the outside to be able to. So I think that's how they work. Off the top of my head, it's been a while since I did that. So once I was looking at it, I'm like, that's kind of messy. No, I don't. It's too much work to be able, right? You're always looking, like your hacks should always be like easy. You know what I mean? Like something that you don't have to put a lot of work, a lot of time. You just be able to take something that's already made and then like just modify it slightly and then use it for a completely different purpose that saves you a ton of money, a ton of time, because you're piggybacking off of something else, right? So the alternator works like that to put a motor. But if you wanted to use it to charge a battery, then you can use it because those are made for that, right? You would still need to, I think, apply a small charge to the rotor so that to excite the fields or whatever, which is a little bit. I mean, it could easily be done, I guess. You know, it depends on your skill level and stuff. But I'm like, when I looked at it, I'm like, it's not worth it or something. Let's see. Why do the standard vehicles do not use lithium batteries? Your opinion? Because lithium batteries are kind of new technology. They've only been around for like 25 years. And the car industry is really old. It's like over 100 plus years. And they don't evolve very quickly, right? And so I think the economics of building lead acid batteries for cars, it just works. And so they're like, why do we need to innovate on a batteries when it just works? So it's mostly that. And when you really look at it, you know, lead acid batteries work. Like they just need to hold a little bit of energy there, and then they just need to use it, like when, you know, you hit the thing or whatever, you know. So when you look at it that way, those batteries work. Supercapacitors would work actually really well, and those have been around for a while, but they're more expensive, so that they're never going to use them for that reason. But they would actually work better, and so that's how those batteries work. Oh, Chimera Development LLC, thank you for the $10. I love your work. I got 10 of the Hoverboard batteries and both DIY books, waiting on the 18650 charger comparison review before I get an idea. Yes, that will drop. Maybe I'll just do it in a live session like this. I mean, you know, I wanted to make a video about these motors, you know, and explain it, right? I was like, okay, here's my research. Someone is going to find this interesting because I had to buy all these motors and take them apart and see how they're wired. This is a bunch of research that I did, right? To figure out that these cheap Chinese, I think, are really good. And so I thought, like, I'm going to make a video, but then I thought, no, I don't have time. If I start doing the video, I can't. And then tomorrow I won't be able to do it. And so right now I'm not making videos. So that's why I decided to go live. And I don't know if people are going to find this information because it's such a long video, right? It's like now more like an hour and a half or whatever. But at the very least, it's up here and it might help someone. So maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just do that tomorrow. Maybe I'll go on live and then I'll tell you guys my research on those chargers. And that way you guys don't have to keep waiting, and that way I'm like, because there's just more, I have tons of video. I mean, it's like, there's never a lack of a subject. Like, I mean, there's never a problem. The problem is always the time, and you're always like, oh, well, do I really want to talk about that? Because, you know, do I want to spend the time talking about. But yeah, it seems like there's a few of you guys now are asking me for that, and I've been talking about that. I'm making that video for so long that I should just do it. Let's see. DIY Skate Builder Forum is a bunch of great guys. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I've ever been there. I should go and look in there because I probably could have find all this information without having to spend all this money on. I mean, this was fun. I like it, right? You buying all this stuff and learning, and I tend to learn more, you know, when I hold stuff and I play with it in my hands, other than read. I don't learn through books and stuff. Peter Spiral made an RC boat with salt batteries. Really? Oh, I gotta see that. So I wish I was a kid now. At 54, I'm not a skater anymore. Hey, well, listen, I'm 40 years old and I'm not a skater. I hadn't never gotten a skate before, and I'm like, man, this is fun and dangerous. Honestly. Can I be your assistant? I think I need an assistant. I'm going to need an assistant. As soon as I get really busy again, and it gets really annoying that I can't get done everything that I want to do, I think I am gonna make a call. And yeah, I am gonna need some people to do some stuff for me that I'm really terrible at, so I can concentrate on the other stuff that I'm terrible at, but I enjoy doing more. I think at this point of the game, that's the aim. What are your thoughts on large voltage electric bikes? Example, 72 volts. I don't know if I have any thoughts. I think, 72 volts. That's that's not much lower than the one that my bus. I'm a 3,000-pound bus. Those are, they must go really fast, and you're able to put some real power. I think they're probably overbuilt, right? But I don't know. I have zero experience. I never seen one. I never looked into them or whatever. I think it's a bit overboard, I think. Are you gonna mess with the belt-driven systems? No, I'm kind of over that. I think I'm gonna build one more system of the belts for my neighbor that brought me that thing. Just because I don't want to use that DC mode. It's so big and heavy and I gotta build him something good. I'm 49 and I boosted board everywhere. It is dangerous. It's dangerous. I don't care how experienced you are when you're doing 20 miles an hour on a board with tiny little wheels. You're gonna fall sometimes. You know what I mean? There's a super weird thing because the longer you're in that board, you're using muscles, but you're not really your body's not in that mode, right? So when you fall off, someone said, oh, you should have just ran it, and I'm like, no, you didn't get. I'm just an hour. I'm just sitting on, I'm standing on this board. My legs are not in a running mode, and you can't just in a split second get up to speed 20. First of all, I don't think I could do 20 miles an hour running. Well, maybe for a split second. It just. I think I attempted to run when the board went. But it was a split second and I was in the ground. I feel I was and then boom, next thing I'm what just happened? Why am I in the ground? Ow, why is my arm hurt, Is that quick? Let's see here. I tried the salt battery. Oh, move. It has the skate calculator where you can plug in values to your motor, battery, and gearing, wheel size, and it will tell you your estimated top speed. Oh, that's cool. You could just split the live stream and the shorter videos for later, less work, same film time. Wait, you could just split the live stream. Oh, I see, get rid of... No, but then that means I have to edit. I guess I could edit. I could put BTS. I can put all those, but then again, it's that's the stuff that I don't have time to do. You know what I mean? That's the reason I can sit here a couple hours and talk, because in a couple hours I can't make a video, or at least not. a compelling video, right? I mean, I guess the argument could be like, why does it have to be a compelling video? You can just sit here and write it or talk about it, not in a live session like this. Because yeah, this actually goes a lot slower, right? I'm like reading your comments, and then it takes me a few seconds, and it adds up. Once in an hour, you're like minutes and minutes just watching me just read your comments, trying to figure out what you guys said. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought about doing like a podcast and stuff. So, like, I'm just here by myself, and it's a weird thing to like read all this stuff and then answer. And like the beginning of this video, I just ranted on about the thing that I was doing, and then I didn't read any of your messages. But it would be interesting to like maybe get someone else in here and sit there and then just talk. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be worse because I could just talk and talk and talk. We can go on tangents. It's like one guy that can go on a tangent. Now it's two guys. But I don't know. I mean, there is a market. There's a market. There's an audience for what's that thing that they do? Podcasts, right? Podcasts. So I gotta think about that. You never know. Dude, if you haven't looked at Endless Sphere, the electric bike forum, you haven't lived. I used to come across Endless Sphere all the time when I was doing research for my electric car. Lately, I haven't. And I tend to stay away from boards. Like, I don't know, I just don't like them for some reason. Well, you can just start messing around with electricity. Yuri Masashi says, "Hey Jehu, where can I learn about electricity and learn and reach your level?" Well, my level's not very high, so you can get there actually pretty quickly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Depends. If you learn by reading, then there are books. I have a couple of books that teach you about batteries and DIY solar and stuff like that. That I recommend. But yeah, just like the forums. Like Endless Sphere has tons of forums and tons of like projects and pictures. And I remember going through that and just, yeah, kind of geeking out on what everybody else was doing. And then the other thing is you got to watch a bunch of like YouTube videos. That's what I do. That's how I do my research. I was learning about the differences between delta and Y wiring on these three-phase motors, or BLDC motors. And yeah, there's some guys that kind of explain the stuff. Not exactly to this application, but it gave me a rough idea, and then it told me what to look for to be able to figure out if these motors were wired. The reason why is I wanted to see if those motors would work with this same speed controllers are the ones for the electric skateboards, right? And of course I could just plug them in and try it and really quickly see if it would work. But I thought, oh well, I have a few minutes, let me look it up and see if that will work. Hola desde las Islas Gran Canarias, España. Wow. Hola, hola. Race for pink slip. Our race boards do 40 miles per hour. Oh my god. On what? On 100mm wheels? You guys gotta be insane to do that. It's way too fast. Broke my pelvis in accident with the taxi and put me out of action for 3 months, but recovered fully now. Wow. So what does he say? I ran. Where is it at? I ran off electric skateboard at 19 miles per hour and tore my ACL. Needed knee surgery. Do not run off. So it's better for me to just fall off to the ground, right? Yeah. I mean, it's such a weird. It doesn't sound like much. Oh, 20 miles an hour, but it's really fast. To be going on a tiny little board, it's really fast. I think higher voltage, but limit amperage for longer battery life. Keep it around 12 miles per hour and have a way of detecting slope to push extra amps for grades. Slide with style. Here's the weird thing. I was like, oh, I guess, yeah, I guess the helmet didn't really protect me, because I looked at it and I'm like, it's not broken or anything. But today I was looking at it and it's all scratched, like I think I landed on this, and then with thing, and so because my shoulder was all jacked up and sore, and then my gut right here and my hips totally landed on this side, right? And also the helmet, it's all scratched. So yeah, totally could have cracked my head if I wasn't wearing my helmet. So I thought it didn't, but yeah, it's crazy. The cell battery produces almost 0 amps. Oh, I see. So it's you gotta have like a giant battery to be able to do like any sizable power output. Zero resistance. Are the Chinese made lithium batteries reliable? I believe so. I think at this point, like 90% of the cells are made in China. I mean, everyone's making them. LG has Chinese cells. Sony has Chinese cells. I think probably Panasonic has Chinese cells also. It's such a huge market that consumes so much batteries that you gotta put production there, even if you're, even if it's not for export or import into the United States, right? So, yeah, I think, there's plenty of evidence that, there are all these manufacturers have manufacturing there. I never listen to podcasts, but if you had one, I would listen and watch. 404, thank you. Wow. So maybe I should make one. Thanks, it was last July, broke ribs and collarbone too, so I was looking at wheelchair users with envy. It wasn't fun, so much more careful. Yes. I felt kind of dumb because I'm like, I'm an old man. What am I doing on this stupid skateboard, like falling off? Like, it's just, you get comfortable so easy and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to push it to the limits. I'm going to keep up with traffic. I was right there, it's like the roads were there. The green lights would, like, the light would turn green and I would be like, phew, and I would just leave the cars behind. And I'm pretty sure people were going like, what the hell? Like, how is this guy going so fast? And then eventually they would catch up to me, and light after light, and I think I was going like slightly faster than the traffic. And so I think a lot of those people saw me eat it. There's probably video. There's probably video online of it. I didn't record it. I wasn't recording at the time. How hot did those wheels get going 40 miles per hour? Yeah, definitely. In my teens, I did 60 miles per hour on a skateboard. Being towed by a motorbike was exciting until I got wheel wobble and fell off and slid into a ditch. No injuries. Wow. Yeah, hopefully you were wearing, like, protective gear, right? Arms. Yeah, because at 60 miles an hour, the road becomes like a sandpaper, right? And you're just leaving flesh there. Yeah, I mean, there are some those downhill riders. That's just insane. I don't know how those guys do that. And then with a car right behind it, like a few feet behind with a wide angle lens. I don't know. Some guys are fearless. I like cheap thrills, says. Alright guys, so it's 10:55. Did I really do almost 2 hours? Almost 2 hours, right? Because I was late, like 6 minutes late or something. Wait, no. So I started what? 10? 9? 9. Yeah, this is like 2 hours, right? What time? What's the time right now? Oh, it doesn't say. 2 hours. Started streaming 2 hours ago. Wow, this is a 2-hour stream. I'm turning into Jack Rickard. There might be some of you out there that might know what that means. But yeah, I'm trying not to turn into Jack Rickard, so I think I'm gonna cut it here. 2 hours. I think 2 hours for him is short. You know, usually I think average is like 3 hours. But he talks a lot slower than me, right? I don't know. Road rash, yeah. No protective gear at all. Just jeans and a t-shirt. Oh, road was, well, come on. How smooth was it? No gravel and ditch was grassy. Really, yeah, really lucky, man. That's crazy. 60 miles an hour. Wow. Yeah, no time limit except my voice is going. Oh my God, I gotta go. And it's 11 o'clock here in California time. All right, guys, thank you a lot for spending some time with me and talking about motors. Who knew about motors? I think, yeah, even if the videos are not build videos that I do about these skateboards, I think they're going to be really fun videos because I want to go, you know, I want to go down to EV West because those guys are like pro skaters down there, right? And then they have that field in the back. And so I really want to build this off-road thing. And then last time that and they have some electric skateboards, but they're like really cheapy. Like they're like one single hub motor kind of wheel. So they just like, yeah, you know. And they weren't really impressed with the first one because it only went like 10 miles an hour, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take mine out there. And it goes like 20 miles an hour and it has a ton of torque. And then hopefully the off-road one, yeah, we could probably make some cool videos because those guys know how to ride and they're not afraid to ride. So I want to do that. I just have to get ready and build them. Okay, the keys to slide, not tumble. All right, guys. Thank you for spending some time with me. Thank you for talking. Thank you for all your support, your likes, and the shares, and all your support. We'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully tomorrow, I will do one where we talk about chargers, the 4-bay chargers, and my findings testing all the ones that you can buy on eBay and on Amazon. And yeah, some of the information might be dated because you couldn't get one of the ones that was okay because Tom was buying them all. But I think, yeah, I think that might change. I guess I have to look at see if you can buy them now. But either way, the other one is better. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll show you which one's the best to cycle batteries to, you know, reclaim batteries for a DIY Powerwall application. And then yeah, hopefully we'll do that. Okay, guys. See you guys tomorrow. Stop broadcast? Yes. Stop